A Kabbalist is a person that has developed a sense that enables them to interact with hidden forces of reality. Kabbalists are people that have found that there are additional forces that are completely concealed from our five senses. There is actually a much wider world of forces that we are in. And this world, which can also be called the spiritual world, is actually the source of everything that we see and we experience in our world. If you're a Kabbalist, then it means that you simply developed an additional sense, a sixth sense, if you might want to call it that, although it's not like our five senses, it works in a different way. And this sense can connect to this world of forces, which are actually the governing forces of our world.
Wow, somebody finally said it. I don't know who you are, sir, but somebody finally broke down what Kabbalah or Kabbalah, I can't even pronounce it, what it's all about. I found this YouTube short. That's it. It's the reality buttons and levers I've been talking about. I can't believe it. Thank you, sir, whoever you are. Somebody finally said basically what it's all about. Now, as a regular goy, that's what I guess, goyim, that's what I'm supposed to be. If you go to Wikipedia or these books, so let's read these books on Kabbalah or Kabbalah, they won't tell you a damn thing about what it really is. Again, it's this, you have to be initiated on top of initiated inside of an initiation sandwich before you even get a clue. They won't tell us regular great unwashed anything about it. Of course, that's what it is. Reality buttons and levers. He says, develop it. So I don't know what it is. I don't know how they deliver it through the Zohar. I don't know the difference between the Zohar and the Zohan, the 12 volumes of that. And do they have grimoires? I don't know. But it's this, yes, they develop, as he said, some sort of powers that cannot be seen. There's, of course. What do you think John Dee spent all that time on? You think he was reading comic books up there in the attic? John Dee translating thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of Hebrew text and Greek and Latin. What do you think John Dee was doing? Playing with yo-yos up there? There's something to this. I don't care to manipulate this world with magic or anything, but that's what it is ultimately. When you go to research it as a goy, they say I am, they won't tell you anything. You asked the first grade truther, do you know about Kabbalah? Do you know what Kabbalah is, first grade truther? By the way, I'm not claiming to know it, but I don't want to know it. We'll get to that later. I don't want to know it. I don't care to know it. First grade truther thinks they have to try to figure it out. You know Kabbalah, first grade truther? Oh, yeah. What is it? It's Matt. How long have you been doing this, Matt? It's Jewish mysticism. What the hell's that? I don't know. You want to investigate a mall event or a school event with me, Matt? So, Mr. First Grade Truther, all you think you need to do is just parrot back Jewish mysticism. You got it covered, basically. In the First Grade Truther. And I know Dath isn't there. What the hell's Dath? The missing circle. I don't know. I have no idea. Is that related to Don't Mess with the Zohan? A little bit. Guys, look. If you go to investigate this and you are not connected, beyond connected, there's no book that's going to tell you whether you could be the son or daughter of a rabbi in Brooklyn. You ain't going to find a damn thing out about what Kabbalah really is unless you have been in the back room of the back room of the back room. The guy basically explained what it is. And I believe this sort of magic or certain level of perception, reality buttons and levers, I believe this exists. I believe not the level of George W. Bush playing with his Matchbox cars, but at certain levels, this is why I've been barking out reality buttons and levers for so many. They understand how this reality works, how to facilitate the trick on behalf of the not-nilk and on behalf of benefiting themselves. The new emerald green speedboat eventually needs to be replaced by the magenta speedboat, doesn't it? So it's how they hold the knowledge, hold the power, this class of role player here. In my opinion, there's probably, and I don't know how to talk about this, it's going to sound stupid, I don't run in these circles, so I don't know how to talk about it. I'll say high-level rabbis. What does that mean? Is that like a high-level D&D character, Matt? I believe there's probably the high-level rabbis that have spent just decades studying the Torah, the Talmud, the Zohar. Now I'm confused. Is it don't mess with the Zohan, so this is the Zohar? Is it? Yeah. I'm sorry, Adam Sandler confused me with that. Of course it's meant to be some sort of play on that. They've studied all this stuff and tens of thousands of pages of writing and interpretation of it related to the tree of life, and they think they know it. I doubt they do. Okay, I would say very, very few. If your great-great-great-great-grandfather was John Dee, you probably understand it. You probably have a grimoire under your pillow if you're related to. But other than these circles, the real ones, the real hardcore pipe hitting, you know what's that kind of in 2020 on behalf of the Not Milk facilitated an entire world going into a face covering, that sort. I'm sorry. Certain rabbis that have studied these texts for decades and decades, I doubt you understand it. Very, very few, I would think, are granted that knowledge. And it's about reading between the lines. That will never be blatant in the text. That's just, of course, how they do business across the board. They will never present it. You have to know exactly how to interpret or this word should be read backwards and all this stuff. I mean, I don't know how to talk about it. Again, this isn't my thing either. But Mike at Sage of Quay talks about the memoirs of Billy Shears, a book, red book and blue book, and how there are 3 layers to reading that book in terms of, these are the key words, but you can read it just as the person on the street would read it and take a little bit away. But that's not the esoteric meaning that you have to be able to read between the lines, or not necessarily read it up and down and left to right or backwards, but certain, I don't know exactly how Mike would describe it, but the point is, if there's 3 layers of meaning in a dumb ass book like the memoirs of Billy Shears, okay, how many layers of meaning you think is in the damn Zohar? Is it Zohan? Don't mess with the Zohar. I'm sorry. You didn't have to make the Adam Sandler movie to confuse me. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I get confused. Don't mess with the Zohan. It's Zohar. He did it, not me. So how many layers of meaning you think are in that? You think you can enroll as a studying rabbi or something in the local Brooklyn or Bronx yeshiva? I don't know what it's called. I'm sorry. I don't run in these circles. Yeshiva. It's like seminary school for rabbis. You think, or the University of Phoenix maybe has a correspondence course called yeshiva? You think you can just enroll in this and they give away the Kabbalah, what the tree of life really means, or what the doth is missing? I don't care if the doth is missing. I don't know what that means. I don't care to know what that means. You think they give it away? You can study that for decade after decade, and unless you're highly connected, know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, you're not going to understand it or read between the lines correctly. This is magic, guys. What do you think this stuff's for? We don't need to understand any more of it than that, because we could devote our lives trying to understand it, and we would never be given access to the information to understand it. They're going to just say the same polite things. Matt, they're going to say, Kabbalah, Matt, let me explain it to you. Jewish mysticism and walking the path of the divine and moving up through the tree of life, so one day you will have a divine inspiration or even some way commune with the divine. None of that makes any sense. What does that mean? I don't know. What is commune with the divine, moving up the divine path? Well, how does moving up this tree of life, what does that even mean? What if I go, is it like playing Donkey Kong or Pac-Man? I go the next one, what does that mean? How does my life change? As I move up little circles on this tree, I don't even know how to get to the next circle. But it's somebody that's doing it. Like, well, is it like karate belts? You go from like a yellow belt to a green belt to a brown belt. What does this even mean? I don't know. But it exists for a reason. Somebody's using it. It's not just pretty pictures on the wall. I always go back to John Dee in this regard. I mean, I'm sure there's other names and famous occultists and everything, but I mean, John Dee, he's the main dude, not Aleister Crowley in all this. He goes back 400 years before Aleister Crowley. If they ever did a wand duel or like a wizard's duel like they depicted in Harry Potter, John Dee would be Voldemort and Aleister Crowley would probably be Harry Potter, but first year, little tiny Hermione and Harry Potter and Ron. First year, that would be Aleister Crowley. So John Dee would immediately like de-wand him and put the Patronus charm on him or something like that. I mean, Aleister Crowley compared to John Dee. Look, am I expert at this? No. But this John Dee seems the original hardcore pipe-hitting dude for all this. It seems to me like Aleister Crowley is like a kid shining shoes on the boardwalk compared to John Dee. I'm afraid to diss Aleister Crowley as well, but you definitely don't want to diss John Dee. He could be from some pit of hell or something. He could be listening to me right now. John D., you stay in your own plane of hell, dude. I'm showing you respect. All right, Matt, how much coffee did you have? I don't drink it, but I do drink Cokes and Pepsis, and I guess just as much caffeine, so I need to calm down a bit. The summary so far, of course, this is my opinion. Have I devoted my life studying the Kabbalah? No. Bits and pieces have come to me over 14 years. 14 years is a... Who's calling? The yeshiva? Oh, maybe I was accepted. Hold on. Nope. I have to keep waiting on that call. So the summary to me is, unless you are, I don't know how to talk about it, of a certain bloodline, have certain connections, are initiated, I love that word, in a very rare sense, in a very rare place, nobody's ever, other than this tiny little group, going to understand the ancient knowledge that I believe exists, that is coming through what you would call the general term of the Kabbalah. With the occult way of interpreting the ancient texts, the Talmud, the Torah, the Zohar, the proper way of interpreting it from their perspective, how to read between the lines. And there could be, of course, other texts that would never be made available to anyone. 1,000 pages that have been kept locked away. Of course, they're not. What's available in the library is likely not all there is, no matter how you read through it. And is there real magic there and reality manipulation and reality buttons and levers? Yeah, sure. Why, of course. We've just heard too many stories. First of all, there's reality breakdowns abound every day now, but too many stories over the years about, the grimoires and the spells and magic, and with these endless stories of interacting with archangels and summoning demons, and again, there's volumes of stories associated just with John D. It's all made up? No. If there's truth in just one aspect of one story, then there's likely truth in all of it. And it also seems apparent from, again, the little tidbits I've been exposed to over the years, that it's not just limited to these Jewish texts with the names Of course, there could be other texts like I just talked about that has never been revealed. But I think they would say the way a Kabbalist, the 1% of the 1%, the 1% of the 1% that really has the true understanding, they would be able to interpret even the Christian Bible, the Old Testament, in a layered way that the regular person would never be able to understand. The book of Genesis, or maybe it's more centered because of its roots around the Old Testament than the New Testament. Again, I don't know. This is way beyond my pay grade. But I'm pretty sure that it's almost like an arrogance, I think certain practitioners would have. They'd say, oh, that Bible thing that we give to the great unwashed interpret it their way, and we interpret it our way. And the way it just seems to be this, okay? The way we interpret it, what even the first book, Genesis, really means, that great unwashed that just sits with their Bible in their pews, they'll never truly understand it. There's a lot of that going on as well, in an interpretation of other things, just put it like that. And because of this topic being discussed, which is kind of as strange and as creepy as it gets, it would be a good time for me to reiterate a few things, for new listeners especially, that number one, I am not a Kabbalist. Is that the right word? I've never read a page of the Torah, the Talmud. I don't know the difference between the Zohar and the Zohan, even though I've never rented the Adam Sandler movie. I am not in any secret society. I don't want to be. Has no interest, no appeal to me. There's trolls that think I'm Joe Rogan or something, and they send me back and forth. But the one here sitting sweating it out is more intelligent than the one making the $100 million. It don't make no sense. But I'm not in any secret society. I don't want to be. I don't like the word initiation. It bothers me. We can chart our own paths here. Worry about yourself. We have enough information on our own. I observe reality and how the minions and creeps operate. I see what they want from me. I try to put a YouTube channel together so we understand more about ourselves and don't take the bait, overcome the nature of the trick. The final outcome is about a half page, full understanding of everything I think we need to know in a half page. When you jump into this ocean of information called the Kabbalah, It's just thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of pages of the main text and the 12 volumes of the Zohar, and then the writings about it, and the interpretations, and then the gematria that comes in, and it thousands and thousands of pages. And you know what I say when reality presents something that it becomes overly complicated very, very quickly? Not for me. I don't want to speak for you. To me, it's a half page. Matt, it's a half page because you're not smart enough to want to. Okay, think whatever you want. If reality's working real hard to make it all complicated, and you could just spend a lifetime analyzing interpretations of how to work up through the Sephirah, the tree of life, and all that stuff, thousands and hundreds of thousands of pages, when it becomes complicated, to me, I'm sorry, that's part of the trick. The main question I have, and please, anybody listening, I would say don't even try to answer this in the comments. I mean, I would think, again, unless you've been invited to the Aleister Crowley Christmas party, or you're a half brother to Benjamin Netanyahu or something. I mean, again, you remember what I said? Only a tiny percentage, even those that studied it, even just a tiny fraction of what you would call a rabbi, even understands this stuff, in my opinion. All right, the real magic that can affect the world. What I showed you with that short coming in, someone that truly has a perception that relates to the as above, so below, and the creepy stuff that goes down here. I don't think anybody listening to this is going to be able to answer this question. I don't really even want it answered. But, I would say the main question, though, is people that have the real knowledge of the Kabbalah, all right, are they doing it to benefit themselves here while they're alive in this place, in the earthly realm? Or in some way, how do they see that extends and benefits them, their immortal self, or whatever incarnation they are, if they're the same as you and me or not? We think there are a few different types of incarnations here. Maybe there are a whole lot more. Are they to do something that just benefits, some? Let me just back up. Some would say, well, Matt, there is this creep class that you've talked about, this role player class. They continuously have the power. They continuously put themselves in power. They seem to have an ancient understanding as to how metaphysical earth works, reality, buttons, and levers. Right? All of that knowledge, it's all being done to benefit them here. Is Henry Kissinger doing things that's going to benefit him, or what? I mean, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt that he is some. Tony would call him a different type of incarnation, but still not an NPC. Still something that may be beyond this place. Okay, I don't know the specifics on Henry Kissinger. We believe, you and me, real people, have a bridge out of here. We're not confined to here. Our soul and spirit isn't animated locally. Are they doing everything the Kabbalah says to do, whatever that is? Are they doing it just to benefit themselves here? Or does it somehow benefit the timeless spiritual whole? I would say, unless it's out to benefit the timeless spiritual whole, does Henry Kissinger have a part of him that existed before this existence and will exist timelessly after, as we know we do? Well, unless it benefits the whole and the as above, so below, that aspect that's not here, what's the point of doing it? That's probably why Hollywood celebrities are so interested in it, because all they care about is their positions here, the next paycheck, the next movie review. They don't. I don't think that type of Tom Hanks minion really sees past this place. Our focus really is not on here. It's on the whole of us. What can I do to benefit Matt here, but the part of Matt that's not here? I think you probably think the same way, or you wouldn't be here. The Hollywood celebrity, it's all about this place. Maybe they're bound to this place. There is nothing more to them. But other types of Kabbalists, is that even the right word? Are they doing it for a timeless aspect of themselves? And how would Kabbalah practice here and now benefit that aspect? I don't, again, it's this, Matt, you talk about doing the work and the simple part two. What's simple can sometimes be difficult. When I'm going to talk about part two in the book, ultimately at the end, we'll break down and again into another half page for something very simple. You talk about Kabbalistic practice, and again, all these different texts and thousands of pages here and tens of thousands of pages here, and how the gematria fits in here. What's it so complicated for? You have to figure out, how does that translate into a mortal self? I'm saying I don't see how it possibly could. And if you're doing it just for benefit, like why does somebody dabble in magic? To help their spiritual self as a whole, or to get whatever they can get here? Like people listening to this, I know are like me, like why do we care to do anything here? To get a better car, or how, for what? It doesn't make any sense. I want to give the part of me that's not here what it needs out of this life. I don't need to go into some book to do that. I'm not, or become a Kabbalistic the practitioner to do that. I mean, why do I need a book? Why can't I do that on my own? I mean, if I'm part of something that always has existed, why do I need to refer to something that John Dee wrote? Or why? It doesn't make any sense to me. So again, if it is about a practitioner, whatever, I don't know how to talk about it. I don't understand none of it. A practitioner of Kabbalah, if are they doing it just to benefit themselves here? Because I hope not. But how would that, all those thousands of pages, how does that help your spiritual whole? What? It just makes no sense to me. And for lack of understanding any of it, as it gets more complicated, to me, that it becomes more and more an aspect of the standard old reality trick as it gets more complicated. This reality tries to make everything big, spiritual, enlightenment, whatever we're here to strive for. It tries to make it complicated. And that seems to be what this practice is doing. It's not. You go to 50 different YouTube videos, you have people saying 50 different things. You get 50 books, they'll be saying 50 different things, all this stuff, and they'll never give you the real truth, the reading between the lines of what. So it's like, what's the point? To me, one of the immutable truths of this reality, I'll probably have this as a main summary on the last page of the book as I present the chapters, is as reality presents something that it says is extremely important, understanding your divine self or enlightenment or your place in existence. And as it becomes more important, if the message coming from reality is incredibly complicated, that moves that message really close to the trick. That's the way I interpret it. It's like an axiom or a rule or a corollary. Can you apply that in this way? Is it just confined to mathematics? I don't know, but I'm using it. It's an axiom. It's never broken. If it presents itself as overly complicated, you need to put decades in and read these thousands of pages, and it's associated with really big topics. To me, it's cozying up to the trick, and it's basically like part of the trick. Now, I'm a big thinker. I'm open to change my opinions on this, but to me, that rule has never been broken because I see how hard the reality works, quote, end quote, the reality, the different aspects here to make everything important, complicated. So we never figure out anything for ourselves. Always look outside ourselves, the false grail quest. Look outside to experts for answers and others for answers and books for answers. That's not worry about yourself. Worry about yourself is you have the power to all do it yourself. If you was the last one on a Gilligan's Island, and who knows, they all tried to get off and they were unsuccessful. They were Tom Hanks stranded with Wilson, unsuccessful, and you were the last one. You could enlighten yourself on just sitting there on a beach getting sunburned. We have it all within ourselves. We don't need no experts. We don't need an authority. We don't need no book. Well, Matt, that sounds very Lucian Desiapharianism to me, does it? I haven't read that either. I don't read books. I don't look to experts. I don't ask for answers from things out there from experts or authority. Many times over the years, people say, Matt, what you're saying here is very Gnostic, is it? Haven't read a page of that either. I don't know Sophia from Grendel from Yaldabaoth. I don't know. I've been exposed to little bits and pieces of it over the years. If you ask me to give a lecture on Gnosticism, I can't even pronounce the word properly. I don't know none of it. I don't want to know none of it. Now that's Luciferianism. I keep saying Lucian Desiapharianism. That's the only way I can say it. I don't know what it is. These are my own personal opinions on how to conduct a very simple worry about yourself journey to do what the spiritual whole of us needs out of life. I don't care what book it sounds like to you. I never read none of it. Matt, your grammar really begins to struggle when you get a little bent out of shape. It does. You're right. It does. But at least it doesn't completely resort back to Philly. Or even worse, it was, the mayor of Easttown, whatever, the girl that was in the Titanic tried to be somebody from Allentown. And they did a Saturday Night Live skit, and it was just as bad as the Saturday Night Live skit presented. They murdered me daughter. They murdered her daughter. They murdered me dirter. And it says, we say, Phil, give me a glass of water. We never say W-A-T-E-R. It's W-O-O-D-E-R. Give me a glass of water. So back to the half page. We've, part one, done that. Overcome the trick. We see through the trick. Not Nilk. We see what you want from us, and we see your ruse, your cunning attempt to trick us. We've overcome that. So then we go into part two, and we say, not Nilk, we're going to do what you don't want us to do. We're going to live our lives in the way you don't want us to live our lives. We're not going to bow down to what you want because we don't fall for the trick anymore. Well, Matt, that sounds too simple. Don't we need to put in decades of studying the Tree of Life, the Sephirah, whatever, the Kabbalah? Don't we need to put decades more research into here or there, or read these ancient tomes? And no, why? To me, that's the trick. Why would I need to waste time on that? You just simply start living your life the way the Not Nilk doesn't want you to live your life. It lays the trick down so you live your life in the way that serves it. That you put the emotion and the negative energy out that it feeds upon. You reconfigure your own machinery so you put the energy out that it doesn't like. This is a half page. I'm sure John Dee and Aleister Crowley and these occultists or whatever, or anybody that studies Kabbalah or the back room that knows all about it and has the reality buttons and levers, they're smarter than me. No question about it. I wouldn't want to play tic-tac-toe against them, man. Even I got center square. It wouldn't matter. And Jeopardy, forget about it. I wouldn't even get $200. I wouldn't even get to Final Jeopardy. I'm sure they're all smarter than I am. They're smarter than you are. But we can look around and see that this reality makes everything complicated. And if they fell into the middle of the complicated well and they potentially took its bait, even though they're far smarter than me, why does that mean they're closer to the truth? It doesn't. In fact, as we look around, the basis of comparison we have in this reality, as we look around, as people are smarter with higher IQs, can't even say it properly, Matt, higher IQs and greater levels of education, they fall further and further into the dark reality's trick. So for the comments and in summary, can anybody listening to me give me one example, a single example where as reality presented something that moved down the sliding scale towards complicated, towards complex, difficult to understand, sophisticated, that brought us towards truth, or the most important things about life, the meaning of life, the meaning of existence itself. As you move down the sliding scale towards complicated, and some weird derivative calculus or something that Stephen Hawking would understand. I mean, to me, see, that moves you closer to the trick. Give me an example. Matt, this is extremely complicated, and if you can understand it, you really understand yourself, the reason for life, existence, and to me, no, that is an axiom. Again, I'm applying it now. I don't care if it has just to do with mathematical models. I could barely add when I was in high school. I don't care. You show me something that's highly complicated and incredibly complex and hard to figure out, and I'll show you the inverse, that it will take you away from truth. It'll take you away from what's important. To me, that rule has never been broken. What we're talking about here, analysis of hundreds of thousands of pages of analysis associated with Kabbalah, that's really, really complicated. Therefore, I'm not going to spend a second on it. Thanks for listening.